the Dart language has introduced null safety in the 2.12 version, which is in development, but at some point null safety will become stable and available for everyone. If you have a package on pub.dev that is not yet migrated to null safety, now is a good time to start. And I thought that it would be nice to go through one package that is kind of like very simple, but has some null safety, let's say, problems, and just go through that with a migration tool, because Dart gives you a migration tool that semi-automatically migrates your package to null safety, and we'll go through that and see what gets us. And hopefully you'll learn something along the way. I actually have longer videos where I go through bigger packages, but I think most people don't want to go through like a hour-long video where they see me fail a lot, and instead I just want a video that is kind of shorter and just to the point, and you can get migrating immediately afterwards. All right. So this is a package that I haven't built. This is a package by my friend Michael from the Dart team at Aarhus, and this apparently calculates some kind of a readability number. So you give it, let's look at the example. You give it some text, and it will calculate a number, and that number either tells you something like, oh, this is way too hard for first graders, for example, or this is very easy to read. And this apparently works on any kind of language, especially any of the languages that use Latin characters or similar. We can try and run the example. So Dart run example. See, I'm using Dart run. This is also a new thing, but you can just use Dart, of course. And this tells us that the readability elix number of lorem ipsum is 40, and it's hard to read. And all it needed to know this is that these three numbers. Cool, right? You can do Dart run test. It has tests, and yeah, we are compiling executable, because when you change Dart versions a lot, it will always need to recompile Dart.test. Anyway, so, but yeah, tests passed. Let's look at the Dart migrate tool then. So Dart migrate will fail at first, and at least that's what I think, because we are, if you look at pub/spec YAML of this package, we are depending on collection and test, and these depend on other packages, and all those packages are not null safe in these versions, right? And so this is exactly what this whole thing tells us. It's like, oh, well, this is great, but we recommend ensuring that every library is blah. You can force the Dart migrate tool to not care about your dependencies, but we kind of want to care. And it even gives you a command to do next, and that's Dart pub outdated. Dart pub outdated, if you don't, well, it's just something that you can use even outside any Dart null safety migration work. This just gives you suggestions what you can upgrade to new versions. But this one is like, especially the -- mode null safety will even look at things that are null safe, and that even though they are not yet kind of stable. And here it says, yeah, you're using 1.14, great, but there's this one which is not safe. So this is actually the version number of that particular version is -null safety 0.5. This is the recommended approach if you're we'll get to that if you're naming your version. All right, so we have done this. We can do pub get. Things have changed a lot. Actually, we could do pub upgrade to be like super, like latest versions of everything, which did change one thing. And now we can still let me clear this. We can still do pub run example, and this will all work. This is even though we are currently depending on null safe versions of those two packages and all of their transitive dependencies, Dart is able to run in this hybrid mode where it knows that, oh, this is null safe, this is not null safe, to make the migration easier, right? So we have a non-null safe code that is depending on null safe code. It's fine. But we still want to upgrade our package. So what can we do next? Well, we did the Dart migrate before and it failed. Now let's try it again. There you'll see that it analyzes our project and it spits out a URL that we can open in any browser, and it will kind of show us. This is like the interactive part of the migration where the migration tool helps you do things and you can change things around and make decisions. So we could, if we were very lazy, we could just apply migration and call it a day. This would change our code and we could just make a commit to the GitHub repository and we're done, right? But we want to check and recheck things, and there are some ways to migrate. Some ways to migrate are better than others. So here you can see, okay, well, class licks, that's the one and only class in this whole package, and it has some nullable words, integer words, and another nullable integer, another nullable period. Immediately I see this and I'm like, can we do this? Can we make it non-nullable? Can we remove that question mark, right? And then there is a late thing. Again, ideally it wouldn't be there. But then otherwise it looks like, oh, because we have nullable, we also have these bank operators that basically says, at this point I'm sure that this is null safe, or there is no null in words. So not a great migration suggestion in my book, but we'll get there. But this is basically how this worked until now, right? Like we kind of work with these as if they were non-null, and we kind of like asserted that they are not, but that was hidden from us. Now it is very obvious that this code could fail if either of these were null. And then we have things like here, like describe, there's like zero change to this code because there's nothing non-nullable, so that's cool. Also, another kind of flow analysis, like the way that Dart is kind of smart about this is that you start with, you can see non-nullable integer, which is not assigned, and then it assigns to it and returns. Calculate is not nullable, like it doesn't return a nullable integer, because Dart is smart enough to go through this and see, oh, okay, so I either throw or I assign to this before using that number. And so it is okay for this to be non-nullable. Right? And this is a way that helps you have the same code as before with non-nullability. Right? We don't need to deal with this because Dart is smart enough to know that this will be non-nullable. Okay, so back to this. We can click on these question marks and we can see what's the reason. And this is actually super nice. So I clicked here, and here I have change type integer to be nullable. And the reason is that field formal parameter, optional formal parameter must be nullable. Right, so it basically says, well, you have this here, it's optional, it is a parameter to the constructor of lex. And so it's not optional, it's named. and therefore it's optional, so therefore it must be nullable, right? And we can go here and say, you know what, I actually want this to be non-nullable. And I can do that by adding the bang hint, which is saying just make this nullable. I mean non-nullable. And we can rerun with changes. See, and just before I show you the rest of this here, if I go to leaks.dart, you'll see that it actually changed. Whatever you do here and apply changes, it will actually change the source code. So you can see it, you can change it, and so on. And here I said, okay, you thought this would be nullable, but I want this to be non-nullable. And it went ahead and said, okay, in this case, then you have to have the required keyword for named parameters. Cool. All right, I can do the same here. Actually, let me do this. I can do this, right? And do rerun from sources. Bam, another required. And the last one, same deal. Rerun from sources. All right. So now we have this done. And now, if you look back to calculate, do you remember those bank operators here? They're no longer here because we know that these are never null. So that's great. And so that's required. And now that late int readability. I mean, we could, yeah, you could imagine doing a few different changes to this code so that we don't need the late keyword here. And by the way, it takes getting used to that you have basically two versions of your code. When you're migrating, you have the one in your IDE or in your editor, and then you have this one that has things that are not there yet. They are kind of like virtual things that are yet to come. And I often get tripped up about, oh, I forget that I'm looking at the wrong code, and I'm like, why is there no late here? And it's there, but I'm looking at the wrong version of the code. Anyway, I think I'm fine with the late here. Late basically here means, sorry, again, late here means that this will not be read before it is assigned to, and we are assigning to it in the constructor as the first and only thing in the constructor. It's fine. Ideally, we could have like a static method that assigns to it and therefore is in the initializer list, but let's just call it a day. I think this is fine. And now I can do apply migration. It asks me if I'm sure about this, all right? And now null safety migration applied. I go back to here and watch this. A, it made all these changes. B, it even made changes to this piece. So it even said the SDK is now 2.12. I don't know if I actually mentioned it at the beginning, but unless you are in 2.12, unless your SDK constraints are like this, then your code is not considered null safe, and therefore you're fine doing whatever you want with the code. So I can do pub.get. I wish I... All right, and now I go to analysis, and actually there is one test that is now completely not needed, because before we were testing like, hey, like if you add null to this, or if you're trying to create leaks from null, then we should fail. Well, now it's not even possible to do anything like that, so we can remove this. I want to go back to this point. So if this was like this, and we were running this code, then it will fail. So, all right, because dart on example, because as I wait, why isn't this failing? Damn it! This should be failing now. Oh, pub.get. Yes, right. See, as long as you have something like this in your code, which basically says this is 2.10, we are in the not null safe history of Dart, then you can't use any of the new keywords, any of the cool stuff that comes with null safety. And therefore, this code that is already, we just migrated it, will not work. But as soon as you go to 2.12, which again the migration tool did for us, then we can, please, and it works. And it now works in null safe mode, which is amazing. And we fix the test, so Dart run test, I think, is also something that will work. And again, it compiles the executable, because now we're in this new, completely new test, completely new thing. And once it compiles and it runs, hopefully it will all pass. We have one less test because we don't need to test for now. All right, so hopefully this makes sense. Now, what we can do is we would ideally publish this to pub. This package is not on pub, so we don't need to do that, but your package is. And for that, you want to increase the version number to a version above. So this would be 2.0. And then you want to do exactly the same thing as here, the dash null safety.0, if it's your first try or first thing after null safety. And this tells pub and or the people who depend on you that this is null safe, although pub will find out about this even without this exact thing, of course, but it's null safe, and because it's dash, it means it's a pre-release. So this is not a stable thing. The people who are not opting into null safety will not use it. It will not be upgraded for them yet until everyone else is on null safety, and then it can be used everywhere. But yeah, so please use this dash null safety dot number, so that we all can kind of understand that your new code is null safe. And that's it. Well, thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, ask me in the comments or anywhere else, and Discord and so on, and get migrating your code to null safety, please. Oh yeah, and if you have any bugs, if you find bugs with a migration tool or any other place, then please file bugs at dartlang/sdk.